welcome everybody. Welcome to this glorious Hispanic episode of the Order of Leathered Dragons. Here today, we're gonna do something different. I am joined today by some very epic dragones de cuera of the Hispanic heritage. We have here on my left Zacarías of Hispanidad Translations. We got here Mr. Modesto, and I'm pointing where I see you guys, so maybe it doesn't render the same way. And we also have Adrian Vasquez de los Rios. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us, brother.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah. Right. So normally what I do here in the Order of Leather Dragons, which name comes from La Orden de los Dragones de Cuera. It's like a little homage to them. As we kind of have a hero's journey type of episode where we get to know where we come from, our battles, our scars, and where we plan to go. So why don't we go around and kind of introduce ourselves and tell our Batman origin story. So I don't know, Zacarías, since you're so good at presenting, you even went to Spain and everything, you should start.
Thank you, Joaquin. Yeah, thank you, Joaquin. So, my name is Zacarías, the Hispanidad Translations. I've met all of you before, I've spoken to all of you, and basically, I have a channel on Instagram, on YouTube, on social media, different areas that translates information regarding Hispanicity, which is basically the legacy, the Hispanic heritage, everything to do with our Spanish-speaking language and culture and identity.
Awesome. Very good. Mr. Modesto, would you mind doing us the honors of introducing yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Modesto Valdez. I'm friends here with Adrian. We're doing things with our Historical Christians page, just promoting Catholicism for the Hispanic community here. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, awesome. Adrian Vasquez de los Rios.
You. Yeah, no, for sure, man. I mean, we're just some regular dudes, pero mexicanos, hispanos, and passionate sobre la fe, sobre la cultura mexicana y hispana, sobre la historia de todos de nosotros, all of our ancestors. I mean, I've always kind of been a history nerd growing up, been infatuated with history and what it means for today and for tomorrow. So, naturally, that led me back to Holy Mother Church. And because of some of the talents that our Lord has given me, I was producing media, podcasts, things like that. And somehow, some way, me and Modesto found each other in real life, from the internet to the real life. And then I think it was Modesto that introduced me to Zacarías's page, Hispanidad Translation. So yeah, man, thank you for having us.
All right. How long have you guys been doing this together, this collab?
Going on a year?
Yeah.
Going on it. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And it's showing, right? It's showing the fruits. Hey, but first things first. Habemos papam. Come on.
Yeah.
Papa
Habemos
Raza.
papam.
Zacarías, I saw that, man, that post of Papa Raza. That floored me, man. That was awesome. That was hilarious. Could you please clue us in so we all know what you're talking about?
Of course. I also want to give a shout out to my good friend John Edwards from Catholic for Ethnics. He's also he's also helped get me linked up with Adrian Vasquez too. Yeah. But the Papa Raza one, that's great. That's that's an interesting story. The guy behind the account that created that, Hispano Studies, he is also an American, but his dad is Mexican, his mother is Spanish, and now they live in Madrid. So he's born in LA and he's raised in LA. Now he lives in Madrid. They have a Mexican restaurant in Madrid. So he's trying to start up his own work for Hispanismo. He's learning more about the Catholic faith too. So it's been very special. But yeah, he made that. He's got a little bit. He likes the memes, right? He likes the funny. He likes to go there. And so I let him do his thing, and I just collaborate on what I can. And yeah, so I got to give him credit from Hispano Studies on Instagram. He's
That's
a cool
awesome, man. That's
young
awesome.
guy.
And what's awesome about this is that when you get to know the people behind it, their stories are so epic. Like his father Mexican, his mom is Spanish, from Los Angeles to Madrid, and now he's seen the connection. He needs to do something, so he's not just taking care of business. He
Mhm.
has to contribute to the cause,
That's right.
right?
That's
Right.
right. His restaurant is named La Soldadera, I want to say in Madrid. So if
Mhm.
anybody watches this that's in Madrid, then go check them out. I also had my interview with Pax Hispanica on my last night in Madrid at his restaurant, at his dad's restaurant.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was pretty powerful. Yeah, and Pax Hispanica is yeah, he's helped me get started. He's a legend in this work. I love him. He's a good friend of mine now.
This is the cool thing about this, man. Just the camaraderie. Everybody wants to help each other out, and yeah, this new pope. We had Francis, argentino. Somos Europa, somos perfecto, and now we got one that it really is a synthesis of the Americas, right?
Hmm.
Because he was born in Chicago, of Spanish mother, Franco-Italian dad, lived in Peru. I mean, you cannot get more eh, Latino, to use a normal word, right? Than that. Very Hispanic. And
Yeah.
what do you guys think this means for us? What do you think the world's turning to?
I've been looking at or watching a lot of the commentary around this historical moment, right?
Hmm.
And I'm seeing everything, man, from the last Pope Leo the 13th and his
Hmm.
vision of Saint Michael and the devil asking or challenging God that he could destroy the church in 75 to 100 years. It's now 78 years since that day, and for a Pope Leo the 14th to emerge and be elected on the same day as the feast of the apparition or yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
apparition
Same day, same day.
of Saint
Mhm.
Michael, is kind of telling to me. I mean, it's screaming at me, and
Right.
it's powerful. So that's kind of what I've been peeping. As a Hispanic, I think we just naturally gravitate towards it. I think the Hispanic Chad era is upon us. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
To that point, I have, family in Chicago from Southside Chicago. So it's like a big thing, just like it is here in Phoenix. Like, if you're from South Phoenix or South Chicago, right? And I have cousins that haven't been to church in, years, right?
Hmm.
Nothing against them or anything like that, but I have one that just messaged me a couple hours ago, like, hey, I'm gonna go to mass this Sunday. Hearing that this new pope is from Southside Chicago, was a White Sox fan, just like them. So I like you're seeing it like on a local level, and that's happening with people that I know. So I imagine it's happening tenfold elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing when you have somebody that you can relate to. It seems like oh no, it's all the same. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Sometimes you need somebody that, okay, he came from the same background as me. He knows the struggle, right? So it kind of pulls you in. And to your point, Adrian, yeah, Saint Michael, right? He represents that very masculine side of the whole Christian ethos, because
Yeah.
Christianity is about forgiveness. Let's say putting yourself in the other person's shoe, right? Um, thinking as the other person as if that was Jesus, how you would treat him, right?
Mm.
but then you have this side, which is non-negotiable. It's black and white. It's that might of God strike him. And the cool thing about if you ever see a depiction of Saint Michael or a statue, he is not exerting a lot of force when he's putting down the serpent. He's barely touching it because he doesn't need to exert a lot of force, right? It tells you a lot about the power of grace, the power of God. That is, it's not. We're not even in the same playing field. We think that we're submitted more so what he tells us in our ears than what it actually is, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great thing, man. Having this Pope Raza. So how did you guys came to this conclusion of both Catholicism and Hispanidad? Kind of go through your steps to let us know more of your origin story.
Zacarías, before you expound on that, I had a thought when this happened, and the Spanish monarchy being the last kind of defender of Christendom, and it kind of coming full circle with this moment. I was kind of curious on your thoughts and if you're kind of viewing it in that same way.
Oh yeah. Well, during the wars against the Protestants in Europe, that did, believe the empire a bit. Basically, yeah, the Spanish Empire did play a vital role in protecting Catholicity, the Catholicism. And whether it was fighting in Flanders, which is now Holland, and Belgium, and trying to recuperate those areas. And yeah, but no, this is very interesting. I kind of want to add in something else too, something about this, the Pope being having a Hispanic mother, and also living in Peru for so long and doing this kind of work. I think it's important, and it's kind of telling that I've been saying this for a little bit of time, and basically I've been saying that if the United States is going to be saved, like from the identity crisis it's going through right now, it's going to be through Hispanics, right? Which is one of the largest populations that has some of the most faith, the most probably a stronger identity, especially when regarding to family. I think we have it's a very strong. We provide a very strong motor in that way, right? And not just, and also the workforce that's here. So I just think it's very. I think this is such an important moment. It's all kind of coming together where like it's reinforced, right? Where we can have an opportunity for other people who are not Hispanic, who are interested in Catholicism here in the United States, because as we know, it's been growing a lot. Even in our politics, we have had more Catholics and different influencers turning to Catholicism. And so I just feel like the United States, especially with the regard against the woke culture, there's been a lot of cultural battles throughout the world, and especially in Europe also. And the United States has taken the opportunity politically to combat that on one level, right? Whether, and not in agreement with everything that happens politically, but I'm just saying that that's kind of the role that at this moment's needed, right? And so I feel like this is the opportunity for the church to, I don't know, kind of go in sync.
That's awesome. Right. What about Zacarías? This whole notion about the Pope being an American and that whole thing about the Americas.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing
thoughts? What are your thoughts about the gentilicio? I forgot the word in English of Americano.
The terminology.
Yeah, to identify people that come from the United States of America, and that whole tension between the rest of the people that live in the continent. Can you expand on that?
Oh yeah, so as we know, the United States has been seen by other countries as kind of imposing itself in lots of ways for a long time with the military-industrial complex. And with the things in the past like the Monroe Doctrine as well, and and it's a very valid point, to have a certain, like, from other countries, right? They have a level of skepticism, and the United States kind of has an empire at this point, right? And so, yeah, there's a heavy level of skepticism, almost a healthy level of skepticism. And so when they hear the word American, because in Spanish, for example, we use estadounidense, which would be like United Statesian, to refer to America, to an North, United person being United States. But in America, in many parts of the world, we reference in English, we say American. Someone's American, right? And so this is seen, and it's kind of frowned down upon in outside communities who think that the Americans are trying to appropriate the word America. They think that Americans are ignorant sometimes. They think that they don't know that that there's other continents, that there's other Americans, there's Peruvians, Argentinians, Mexicans, all these other Americans, right? And see, the United States Americans, they think they're the only Americans here, right? As if we're in some kind of bubble, right? We gotta be honest. Of course, there's ignorance everywhere, right? In all countries. And sure, there's probably people who are, what's the word, ethnocentric, who just think of their own bubble. They're nationalistic, chauvinist. But the reality is that over time, I thought that too, but I've learned that the reference to American, and we're going to hear a lot of this. We're going to hear of American Pope, the new American Pope, right? First American Pope. And the reality is that the United States of America is the only country with America in its title. And so that's why it's used so much to reference a person from the United States of America, because of that simple fact. And it's not too deep as some kind of grand scheme or some kind of conspiracy to dominate everyone's language, right? But basically, the idea that it's kind of like Mexico, right? You have the official title of Mexico is not just Mexico; it's the United States, the United Mexican States in Spanish, Los Estados Unidos Mexicanos. That's the official title. So we don't go around saying they're technically estadounidenses también. Son técnicamente también, sí. Si queremos ser literal, if we want to be literal, that you can call them United Statesians, estadounidenses. Well, we call them Mexico. We call the country Mexico, right? Even though it's not its official name, it's the only country with Mexico in its title, right? And so basically, yeah. Okay. Anyways, no. Anyways, that's it. That's pretty much it. It's not too complicated. Yeah, so American is a valid term, and of course that's not a hill I'm gonna die on, fight everybody on. I already tried to, we're already talking about the term Hispanic, right? Using that versus Latin, which is Hispanic is a more appropriate term because it makes a direct reference to our common language and our common family values or cultural values in our culture.
You know what I think is kind of interesting about America is that. And I used to always kind of have this view on America. I used to blame it for, I think, kind of washing away cultures and trying to make its own. But ultimately, it wasn't able to do that. All these cultures have survived within America. All these ethnicities, all these languages, they've all been able to survive in America. Yeah, we kind of all know that if you're an immigrant and you bring your family to America, you will become Americanized, right? You will lose a little bit of your culture, a little bit of your customs, maybe even, other things. It maybe even your religion, right? Because it's such a, I would say, for me, my experience of America was like, it was very either agnostic, atheist, or Protestant, right? But it's unique though, because in this development, in the time that we're in right now, it seems to me that America is almost very similar to the Catholic Church in the way that it houses all these different world peoples. And for the Pope to be an American Pope, and for us to have the attention on the Americas right now, the way that we do with Trump and the Pope, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know, a supernova of a reality. You know what I mean? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, the United States of America, it's definitely different now. It's been through a lot. It's definitely different now than it was like 200 years ago, right? In the 1800s, the 19th century, where you had literal race wars against the Native Americans. Something that did not happen with the Spanish Empire, right? These Catholics were oftentimes looking to acculturate, not annihilate the Native Americans. And so that's why we have so much idiosyncrasy. We have so much mestizaje in Hispanic America, where indigenous people and mestizos are the greater majority, right? But as you said, like things now are not the same, and that is what I think people who may have never visited here, they might not understand that, right? But it is a melting pot at this moment, and so yeah, like you said, there's a almost like an acculturation too that has to happen like anywhere, right? For anything to function, whether it's language or whatnot. But I think the Hispanic that's part of this whole dialogue, right? Is that the Hispanic identity is very strong, and it's actually formed much of what is now the United States. So it's inevitable that it continues, right? So yeah, that's what I see.
Right. So having a Raza Pope makes total sense then, and it's a good contrast with Trump's waspy demeanor, right? Have then the Raza Pope. I mean, something had to balance that equation out, right? So I mean, because he can come off as being too it. Listen, I am for a president managing his country like he should, like it's his country, right? But he can come off as being a little bit too aggressive. Well, that's his style, has his New York businessman style. All right, fine. But now we need something to we don't want to be another 4 years of what happened in his first term. The country going to burn up, you see? And I think that's the way nature, God intended to, okay, it's, al rubio y la raza. So we can balance things out. So everybody has what they want and we don't kill each other.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. So, Adrian, um, so you weren't born into Catholicism?
I was.
You were.
I was.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so you're familiar with the whole thing.
I wasn't familiar with the whole thing. I was born into Catholicism just by default, like most Mexicans. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm.
Um, baptized as a baby. But before my memories can even help me out,
Hmm.
my family converted to the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, yikes.
You know,
Sorry about that.
and so I was separated from the faith for a very long time until
Mm.
it wasn't until I was about 12 years old that my mother gave me a choice that I didn't have to go to that religion anymore, So I jumped in the air and I said, I'm not going anymore, you know what I mean? And um and from there, from 12 to about 18, 19, I kind of held a agnostic, generalized, neutral view on religion and spiritualism. I was like,
Mm.
I don't know what religion's telling me the truth. I don't know. Some of this stuff sounds like convenient for population control and all these little weird conspiracies that us 15-year-old YouTubers were consuming. You know what I mean? So it wasn't until I really reached a point in my life where a lot of tragedy
Mm.
happened, and I
Mm.
was forced to ask myself, well, you know, what's really going on? And so I began that journey, and I was probably like 19 years old when I finally came to the conclusion. I kind of dived into everything, a little bit of every little religion from the Quran to Buddhism, Confucianism, the whole self-help movement of
Mm.
manifesting your whole life, and
Mm.
all those things, and I just everything kept pointing back to Jesus and the Bible, and I was learning historical facts that was like, wait, hold on, man. So if this is real, this is big. And one day it just hit me. I said, I can never deny Jesus. I will never deny him. I will never disrespect him. And this is what I believe. I don't know if I'm a Christian. I don't know what title I am, but I believe this Bible. And
Mm.
so that was around when I was 19. And from there, man, it's just been a big old journey from there to becoming a reformed a Protestant, you know, and then and then that whole thing being destroyed just
Mm.
naturally. You know, as a Protestant, you go from one church, or you listen to one Protestant friend, and they're all teaching something different. And if you're honest with yourself as a man, that inconsistency is going to bother you.
It's gonna
And
drive you mad.
you know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of that was kind of the journey of me coming to Catholicism, you know, or
Returning home.
returning home, man.
Yeah, awesome. What about you, Mateo? Modesto.
Yeah. So I'm actually a cradle Catholic. So I was, born and raised Catholic, um, with the whole Catholic school route and all that stuff. My brothers are they're still altar service today. My parents go to mass every Sunday at 6 in the morning and all that stuff. And when you grow up Catholic like that, you either stay very devoted or you get a taste of the world and you kind of fall away. And that's what happened to me. So for about like probably 7 years, 6 to 7 years, I was away from going to mass. The last time I went to mass was in boot camp. I was in the Marine Corps, and I would like go to Catholic mass with all the other Filipinos and Mexicans. Like it was just like, oh, I got to go to Catholic mass. And I never strayed away. I never like said, oh, this is, I got to go to these other churches. I did go to one Protestant service in boot camp, and I remember feeling very weird. Like I was like, this feels like irreverent. It didn't feel like a Catholic mass. And the mass was held in an auditorium, and even that was, more reverent than these other services. So I remember going to that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not, leaving. But
It felt
yeah,
gay.
yeah, yeah. It was a lot of singing songs and stuff like that. I mean, it was real emotional, like holding each other's hands and praising God, which is good for them. No foul to those people, but I grew up Catholic. You know what I mean? It's like you go from having a Bentley to having a Nissan or something.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
That's
so
exactly it.
I fell away for, like I said, 6, 7 years, just not going to mass. And then probably about 3 years ago, me and my wife, we were like, hey, we need to start going back to church. And so we started going with my parents again at my home parish. But just where we live, it didn't work. So we found a new parish, and she'll be confirmed this Saturday in the church, her and my stepdaughter. Uh,
Nice.
and
Good
then we're
job.
getting, yeah, thank you. And then we're getting married here in October through the church. So we'll be full members of the church again this October.
Good job,
Wow.
Modesto. You
Thank
guys
you.
are people's
Wow.
champ.
Wow,
The prodigal son
Modesto.
has returned.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks to the Virgen de Guadalupe, man. My dad would tell me, he told me probably a year ago, he's like, man, every day after every mass, I'd go to the Virgen and I'd pray to bring you back, to bring you back to
Oh,
Christ and all
wow.
that. And I was like, I kind of like got quiet. I was like, what? You know, but it worked. So,
Dads.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Great.
amazing.
Great, man. Great. So okay, so you guys do Catholic content. Can you describe more or less what does it look like? Is it funny? Is it more historical? Give you that 1 minute pitch in the elevator? What is it?
I'll let Adrian cover that one. He's good at that.
Let's go,
I,
Adrian.
I would say that it's not consistently what we want it to be. We've
Mm-hmm.
been posting a lot of meme type of content out of convenience.
Mm.
Just because before my confirmation this Easter, by the way, I was
Yeah,
confirmed.
congrats. Yeah, good job.
Congrats.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, no, before that it really did get heavy for me mentally, spiritually. Things were kind of crazy. So what I could just do what I could do. And we want it to be focused around history. We want it to be very uh, uh, we want the substance to be there. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Mm-hmm.
we do. If you scroll through it, I'll give you a follow on that specific page after this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But we've had success, man. We've had success. I think God is working through it for sure. I know Modesto has had some buddies reach out to him Raza Hispanics that he grew up with or used to work with, and on my end as well. So it's like, that little bit of work, those one, two, three, four souls that are impacted. I think what's happening, Joaquin and Zacharias, I think what's happening is Hispanic men, we didn't really know our identity, and we also didn't know how close that identity was to Catholicism, and we also didn't
Yeah.
know how masculine
Yeah, that part too.
Catholicism. So when
The Cristeros, bro, like, come on,
yeah, yeah. So when we give the world that little bit of glimpse of that identity, and they get to see that, they're like, because something kind of wakes up, is what I think. Just like in the same way that something woke up within me.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too I was in the Catholic Instagram world, following all these pages. I don't want to name all of them, right? Because a lot of them they post good content, but I noticed that a lot of the people that were running the pages weren't people that necessarily look like me or come from my culture. So I'm scrolling through and I find historical Christians, right? And I'm going through his page, and he's at a mission church in a city that's not too far from us, in Tucson, right? One of a Spanish mission, right? And I'm like, okay, who's this guy? Is he local? So I commented on the post. I'm like, hey, bro, are you in Arizona? And he messaged me right away. He's like, yeah, bro, I'm in Phoenix. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like, to me, I was like, man, it's cool to see other Catholic, social media pages of, people that look like me, come from my culture, grew up doing certain things or understanding certain things of my culture that I can relate to. And I think within a couple months, like, we ended up meeting. We went to a baseball game. And the bishop happened to be there. It was like
pictures with the bishop.
Yeah, we had a few beers, and the bishop was there, and we're like, hey, come here, and then he was kind of like, what, he took a picture. We had a tall boy with us, but it was cool, man. It was cool. But yeah, that was like the biggest thing. So we were talking, like, yeah. So we were talking, and I was like, the biggest thing that I see is, like, in Hispanic culture, a lot of, like, even my own family members, some of them even from Mexico, they've left the Catholic Church because they don't know her, they don't know the Catholic Church. They've gone to these other churches, and I'm like, it just doesn't make sense, right? So the biggest thing with at the time that I was hitting Adrian up about was like, let's do something to bring these people back and, like, really show them the truth. Like, the Virgen de Guadalupe is not some mythological apparition. It's not some some fairy tale. It's a real thing that exists today. You can go visit the Tilma, 500 years old. It's made out of cactus fiber, that should have deteriorated within 10 years, and it's still here, almost 500 years. Here in 7 years it'll be 500 years. So something like that was really impactful. So we've been connecting since then.
Wow, what I appreciate, guys, like you, like all three of you, is just how dedicated you are in all areas of life too. You're representing Catholicism well when you do that. You are working hard. You're earning money for your family. You're taking care of your family. You're working out. I see all the games. I see you guys working all the time. I appreciate every single one of you when you're doing it. So it's something I aspire to too. And yeah. And I see more and more, it's popping up more and more. You have different Catholic fitness influencers popping up out of nowhere. And it's amazing. It's like on fire. I just met a guy it's called like Catholic Warrior Fitness the other day.
Yeah, and, I've been following him for a while.
Yeah, we just followed each other. And then this other woman, she just collaborated on my post about Pope Leo the 14th. Oh man, it's gonna take some time to get to. Yeah, but her name's like Francisca or something like that. But yeah, also another one, like,
I know who that is.
Yeah, there's a few. So I think that's kind of where this is going. It's going to a place where we're becoming complete human beings. Thank God.
Yeah, I think the image of, like, young Hispanics, whether male, female, whatever, young Hispanic Catholics, like, really taking on the faith and being more like, literally active, like working out, like being a hard worker, like that dude Isaac, Catholic Warrior Fitness. I've been following him for a couple years now, and when he, like, first built his house, like, he was part of the whole process, part of, like, pouring the concrete, like, stuff like that, like, just being an average everyday, like, blue collar Catholic, like, and exemplifying that masculinity, I think is needed, because when I grew up, a lot of the stuff that I witnessed in the church was always like, the old people in the church. You go to mass, it's always old people in there, right? At least that was my perception. it probably wasn't the case, but that's what I remember, you know. So, you know, I think
everybody was old.
Yeah.
Everybody was old when you were young. Yeah.
Exactly. It could have been a 35-year-old and I would have been like, oh, that's an old person, you know, but
he's going to die soon.
Yeah. But I think it's good though. Like, you know, cause I see my younger brother, he's 18 years old. And you know, for the last couple of years, like his faith and his commitment to his faith is so much stronger than mine was at his age. You know, he understands more about the Catholic faith than I did probably 3 years ago, you know. So you're seeing the fruits right now. You know, there's this new generation that's coming up, and we're the examples. Like, you know, we're the, you know, 30 years. Well, I don't know how old everybody is, but you know, we're around 30, 35. And we're like the example for the generation after us, you know.
Right, and that you can do different things. You can, you can have a life. You can have different interests, and you can showcase them. And it's, you know, you don't need to be a hermit unless you want to, right?
Right,
and there's
right.
cool things about being a hermit too. So, it's a big tradition, huge tradition, and has a lot of houses even. So if you're more of the scientific bent, you're gonna find inspiration there. If you're more of the artistic bent, right? If you more of the artistic bent, you have plenty to choose from, right? If you want to go do some groundwork with the people, plenty.
Right.
If you want to meditate on a passage on the Bible, there's mysticism,
Right.
there's weird stuff too. So there's something for everybody.
It's universal for a reason, right?
It's universal for a reason.
Exactly.
And also to your point about the religion and Protestantism, I mean, Hispanicity and Catholicism are like two sides of the same coin.
That's what we say.
Being uncoupled of Catholicism, it's like almost kicking dirt on your past. And I cannot see sincerely how can somebody adapt a Protestant faith and still be proud of being Hispanic in its history when it's basically the church with boots.
It hits a wall.
You know what I'm saying?
It hits a wall. It hits a wall, and there are people I've met them. There are people who are curious. They happen to be Protestant, but they are curious about the Hispanic history and this legacy, the strength, and then it hits a wall. At some point, we have a conversation about some pope or some Catholic dogma or the Virgin Mary and how these conquistadors did it. You know, what they had to do, and yeah, so then all of a sudden it just unravels. Everything unravels. You see these prejudices come out, these black legends toward the Catholic Church just unravel and come out. They just lose their composure, and the sensationalism sparks out of them, you know. And so I've seen it lots of times, you know, and we're always trying to invite and welcome, you know. But there comes a point where they're gonna have to understand some biblical theology here, you know, and also historical Christianity, right? Because this is not just like our personal interpretation of the Bible, which is what their pastors are doing. That's what Protestantism is, just personal interpretations of the Bible. No, this is both the biblical interpretation of the Bible and the historical Christianity that has been ongoing, continuing. And that's the one thing Protestants can never tell me, the ones that are anti-Catholic, they can never tell me when did this Roman Catholic Church start. And they say some say Constantine, some say a certain council. Then I have references like, but here we have popes, we have councils before then. The Bible wasn't even ready by then. It didn't come till like the Council of Rome in 382. So like authorized by Pope, canonized by the Catholic Church, the church you're hating on so much. So doesn't this contradict? Can't you see this contradiction in your own way of living? Are you not satisfied? So I used to be Protestant for like 6 months, right? Before becoming Catholic. I had a lot of these questions. Yeah. And but this is why this Hispanicity work is so easy for me, right? Talking about our culture and our heritage, right? It's a broader thing. It's easier to defend because people are not as invested in responding so personally about it. Because the Catholic Church demands us we live, you know, not just the church. God demands that we live a certain way, and the Catholic Church is the messenger. And so some people can't get over that if they don't respect the authority. Then it's hard for them to hear that, you know, to hear some of the things that that God is, commanded from us. So it's easy for for people to get emotional and start responding and just no, 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 no. But with this whole Hispanic work is tied into Catholicism, and yet it actually helps the Catholic Church in the end of the day because there's a lot of the same enemies and same stereotypes that are reflected on the Spanish history that is also applied to the Catholic Church. Things like the Spanish Inquisition, which are completely exaggerated. Other things like how women were treated, which is, it's just not quite what we think. They weren't, everyone's just chained up into rooms, so there's a lot that needs to be debunked, from all the frontiers. And so, yeah, but we're in this work, we're doing it. And we have a lot of friends from all over the place. Like you folks, you guys are all different. You're in Arizona, you too. You're in the Dominican Republic, so it's like we're moving in sync.
Right. And when you see when you hear the black legend coming out towards the Catholic Church, towards Spain, it also reflects on you because when people they see, okay, Hispanic, Spain, Catholic, and they have these prejudices against the Catholic Church, it's gonna spill on you.
Because
Like
they use it
it's
in arguments too. They use it to justify not coming to the Catholic Church. They'll say, "Why who was the Catholic Church to judge me when they did X, Y, Z?" Right? But the
right.
reality is they're arguing from a lie or an exaggerated, out of context situation here. Mind you, like everything else that they love and defend went through that same process as well. They have a dark side too. Nothing is black and white. So
Mm.
that's what I'm saying. When you start to reveal these historical facts, or you contextualize it appropriately, it unravels their arguments completely. They have nothing else. They can't stand on anything anymore.
They're throwing rocks from inside of a glass house.
Oh, absolutely.
100%. And Joaquin, you being in the Dominican Republic, and me personally, I would like to know a little bit more about you as well. I've probably seen a couple of your clips, and you seem to be a really how you say this, a strong personality when it comes to podcasting. It's dope, man. When I see you in those clips, you know what I mean.
Thanks.
Excuse me. Now, how is Catholicism in the Dominican Republic? What has been your journey in your Hispanic Catholic identity?
Well, I went to Catholic school, and like any free rebellious boy, we're gonna have my encounters with
Yeah.
priests and nuns, but that's how you roll when you're a human being, obviously, right? And I've had my moments where I stood up to authority, and my moments where I said, "Well, he was pretty cool. I like that." So it's like anything, man. I mean, people need to chill. We're human. Things are gonna happen. Or you think the Protestant didn't have their own black legend with all the witch burnings? Everybody has stuff. Now, coming back to me, what I'm trying to say is it's all over the place. I have stuff uh, that shouldn't have happened, but I've had other experiences where it's miraculous, without a shadow of a doubt. And I was justifying it in my head, like that. Did that really happen? Nah. I mean, I'm talking about shit. I've never say this in public. Um,
You gotta tell us now, man. You started.
No,
I once like I really love animals, so I had a little pen filled with guinea pigs, and I also had these large base for flower plant pots, right? And one day, I don't know, the dog got loose, some commotion. One of those bases just fell on one of the guinea pigs, and it broke its back. And I saw it snap like this, right? So this is your spine. It was like that, and I felt so bad, so bad. I grabbed it. It was paralyzed. So I grabbed it and I just prayed with all my heart to the Virgin Mary. And then when I set it loose, it walked again.
Wow.
So so that was, I mean, his spine was still like this, snapped. and it walked. And that was really intense. And it
Wow.
happened.
And how old are you?
I was late teens,
Okay.
late teens. And yeah, so
Wow.
that worked. So it works.
Yeah.
And yeah, and throughout my life, like you, whenever if anything Protestant service, I always felt icky. It's like this is
Yeah.
not. It's like you said, from a Bentley to a Honda, or
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And just how the Catholic Church has preserved Western civilization, and it has kept the good stuff, and it has admitted what it's done wrong. It's like a decent human being. You know what I'm saying? Like anybody that's
Yeah.
decent is gonna admit, you know, we we messed up here, but it has also recognized the good things that happened before, has kept it, has baptized it, and has brought it forward. So, and here in the Dominican Republic, this is a majority Catholic country. There are Protestants, especially among the poor um,
Hmm. That's what they target.
sections. That's the target, right?
That's
But
what it is, man.
It's
um,
like Central America.
the Catholic, the heads of the Catholic Church, they have a say. They're in the ears of the people of power, and kind of like you see the people of old money, people that are well educated. They don't they don't go out of Catholicism, man. It's just no way. It's like no, son. And
Joaquin,
yeah. Hmm.
Joaquin. Um, so I have a friend, and
Hmm.
she's a teacher. She in history, and she's from the Dominican Republic, and
Okay.
she has a very she's Catholic. She just got confirmed into the church, right?
Mm.
But she's very critical of whatever her experience was with Catholicism in the Dominican Republic, or how it was presented to her. You know, obviously she was younger at that time. Um,
Mm.
but I remember one time we were talking about Hispanic, the Hispanic history, and a lot of times she said, anyone that really pushes that heavy in the Dominican Republic, or they kind of have this. And I'm not. This is not a. This is probably not even a good paraphrase. It's definitely not verbatim. But basically, she's saying that the darker people, the poorer people,
Mm.
are not necessarily treated well through the Hispanic Catholic movements in the Dominican Republic. Is that accurate to your experience there? And can you kind of expound on that?
I mean, there are plenty of priests that have their missions where the the rubber meets the road, if you know what I mean, in the barrios,
Yeah.
right? Um, like anything in modernity, there's gonna be pockets, points of entry for something that sounds better because the evangelicals have they're very charismatic, right? And if you don't know your history, if you don't know, you've never been educated, and all of a sudden you hear this, then it might be appealing. And there's also the music factor. They know how to sell it. Um, but historically, the church has always given to the poor, and people when they go to mass in certain churches, there are like how you see in the movies, like the poor people outside waiting to receive some donations. And where I go in each Easter for the last couple of years in a zona colonial, the big cathedrals, the big churches there, they're there, and I think also she might. I mean, it's obvious she's been propagandized. But I don't know exactly what it is that she sees that the Catholic Church isn't doing or hasn't been doing for the last since
You
it
know,
got here.
it's pretty,
Like,
what's it called? Anecdotal? Anecdote? It's como anécdota, right? It's an anecdotal
sí,
experience,
sí,
right?
exactly,
It's not like
exactly.
there's any institutional law that just verifies what she's saying at all. It's not like the church is supposed to do what she's saying, right? Not at all. On the it's supposed to do the contrary. It's kind of a cheap shot that we see all the time, right? Like
A
it's
cheap
everything.
shot, exactly, exactly.
It's a victimist mentality, right? And where you have a hierarchy of victims, right? People of
Right.
color being, at the worst part of it, But yeah, like the obviously everything's more complicated.
Right, and there are plenty of schools that are run by nuns. Don Bosco school has been running for forever. My school, Calasanz, which is that saint was the first one who started giving out lessons for free. Started with him, San Jose de Calasanz, from Catalonia.
Wow.
He was the one that started this movement, teaching poor kids, obviously for free, giving them a proper education. So
In Mexico,
my
there was a woman named Bustamante. I want to say Bustamante, Catalina Bustamante. I want to say she was an orphan. She helped with the orphans. I mean, she came during the Spanish Empire, right? And the native orphans over there. The first hospitals built by like Hernan Cortes, who was a conquistador, for Native Americans. We have the first colleges and universities that were established by the Spanish, oftentimes for Native Americans. Like the College of, so Black Loco. I can't remember. But yeah, right there, where Mexico City is now. And so, no, I mean, it's just, you have a rosary of universities throughout the Americas.
right,
But we're not told all that, right? We're just told of very generalized half-truths where everyone was just killed and put into a caste system where they're always in little boxes where they couldn't move socially, which is not the reality. You had black conquistadores like Juan Garrido, who helped with the fall of Tenochtitlan and who eventually became
Wow.
an encomendero and was the first one to harvest trigo, wheat in the Americas. He was also
right.
the first black person to step foot on continental Florida, on continental United States, which is Florida at that time.
Wow.
You have other ones like the woman conquistadora, a woman conquistadora. They don't tell you about these, right? What does she know about this? Well, if she knew about this, maybe she'd have less of a complexity. Like it was Beatriz de Palacios, who was a conquistadora, and so was her husband. And she was a mulata. She was dark skinned. She was like half black. So, you have Estebanico, who traveled with Cabeza de Vaca, who survived the shipwreck and traveled all throughout what is now the Southwest and they found their way back to the Guzman. And eventually he got murdered by him, and 300 Native Americans were murdered on their way up north by guess who? Other Native Americans murdered them all. And yeah, but they don't tell you that part, huh? You're more likely to die by Native Americans than you were by Spanish people at that time.
Because they were always supposed to be smoking the pipe of peace, right? They didn't kill anybody. Yeah, so in the Calasanz, at the end of our scholarly hours, then came the poor section to receive class in the same institution where I received my class in the afternoon. You see, so that was part of their mission. The same quality. So I don't know what she wants. I mean, if she wants this,
What was
we
the
don't do.
saint? What was the saint's name that you mentioned that started giving free education out in the Dominican Republic?
He started in Catalonia, and
Okay.
then that movement came here. So his name is San Jose de Calasanz.
And that brings me to a really interesting thought that keeps coming back to me, and I've never been able to dish it out or publicly. But I think the answer to a lot of these misunderstandings is the stories of the saints. And
Mm,
because the saints, once you read that story, this is a person just like me, and there's going to be something human in that story that is going to resonate no matter if I like it or not. You can't
mm,
you can't deny the truth. That's one thing that I learned about the truth, is that ultimately, um you have to be completely demonized to deny the truth. So what happens is when you present the stories of the saints to people, and if you remember them at the right time, if you tell them at the right time, like, did you know that this saint did this in the Dominican Republic or in Mexico? It's going to just penetrate straight to the soul. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that we got to remember is the stories of our brothers and our sisters in the faith, whether Hispanic or not, that has really impacted the world in such a major way.
Oh, I agree.
Like you said. Mm-hmm.
And I would say the Saints, absolutely. The Saints are incredible, right? Especially now where we have a canonization process that's so thorough. Like you got a saint like Junipero Serra, who's that's just incredible people, right? There's so many, but they're above and beyond, like there are some of these individuals are just like above and beyond, even in their own context. And then even just reading some of the chronicles of these people that went before us, like it just humanizes them. It humanizes their decision making, right? Why they go to war with some group or something like that. It just makes you understand the why, And so people just need to actually read the firsthand accounts. And here's the great thing about Catholics. This was a Catholic Renaissance that the Spanish Empire went through. Like the Italians around a little bit before and around the same time had a Renaissance as well. And around the Southern Europe was having a lot of Renaissance, Renacimiento. And it became a golden age for the Spanish Empire. And they were writing down everything that was going on. All these individuals, just like having weapons, it was just as important to have a scribe at the time. So a lot of documentation, it just was sitting there waiting to get sifted through, But a lot of people that are even historians, right? They don't read this stuff. They only read other historians who it's been one after another, and the story's been told over and over again. And it kind of has a certain, every single way history can be told in different ways,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that these people were not perfect.
No.
This is what needs to be driven home. The saints were not perfect, but through their works and through faith and grace, they became saints. So it's like it's telling us there is hope. There is a way. It ain't easy, but there is a way, and that's what humanizes Christianity, right?
Wow. Yes.
We got it's like we got receipts. We got receipts. Here are the receipts.
Well, like speaking on that, like one of my favorite saints, obviously, I went to a Jesuit high school, right? So Saint Ignatius of Loyola, he his life before. I think we got an echo because of the live.
You got an echo now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're good now.
Go ahead.
So we good now?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like Saint Ignatius of Loyola, before he started his Society of Jesus, right? The Jesuits, he was a soldier. Like he lived a life of just going to war, a womanizer, like had all kinds of women. I mean, the dude was he was that guy. You know what I mean? Like everybody all the men wanted to be him, all the women wanted him. Then he was hurt in battle. Like his leg got hit by a cannonball, and then he was forced to be in the hospital for a few months. And there, I think he read Thomas Kempis' Imitation of Christ, or I forget which book he read, but it like completely radicalized him. Like I think he was born into a Catholic family, but he didn't really care too much about the faith. But it was that experience of getting hurt in battle, living this life of the prodigal son, and then like that completely forced him to like go and do his ministry work. Him and St. Francis Xavier. These are like the first Jesuits, and to me, I look at the history of the Jesuits and I'm like, their founders were so, I mean, they went into lands that, no Christians were going into because it meant death, but to Joaquin's point, like they had a past, like Saint Ignatius, his past was not, if you read about his past, this is not a saint, this is somebody that he was a killer, he was a womanizer.
Yeah,
but he didn't end that way.
Right.
Yeah. Every sinner, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future.
Right.
That should be a bumper sticker, man.
Yeah.
Right in front of a bar.
Hey.
Put it on my shirt or something. Remind
Oh yeah,
yourself every day.
right.
I bet you convert so many alcoholics.
Yeah, right.
Salud, salud,
Salud,
Salud.
salud, salud,
salud,
salud.
salud.
Great,
Yeah,
great. I mean, whenever you see a drink that has a monk in front of it, you know it's gonna be good.
right.
Dude,
It's gonna be
I had
good. You know it's gonna
I
be
had one of
good.
my best beers a couple weeks ago. I went to Total Wine. I don't know if you guys know about it.
Oh yeah, totally,
Yeah, yeah.
totally.
It was I think it was a French monastery or an abbey or something like that, and it had the description right there. It was a big bottle, but it was beer, and I was like, I'm trying this just because it's happening. I'm trying it. You know what I mean? I got it real cold, and I popped it open, and it was an amazing beer.
Yeah,
And
man.
man,
Do
God bless them.
you remember what it was called?
No, I don't.
There,
It was
there's
that good.
Yeah,
there's
He had too many. He threw them
yeah.
away.
No, I just one.
one of my favorite beers of all time has the monk on it, but it's from Bavaria. It's called Franziskaner. It's German, right?
Of course, Francis Ghana.
Franziskaner, yeah, it's so good, so good. It's like an orange color, you know. But
Yeah, yeah.
I stopped drinking beer, guys. I don't drink
Yeah,
beer anymore. I used
that's
to
what
be
you have.
I used to be the beer guy, guys. You have no idea. Like I was the beer guy.
Yeah.
Everybody knew me like that. But yeah, I gave it up for Lent, and now I'm giving it up completely.
Wow, that's
Ooh.
the ideal, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm still drinking wine though.
Yeah. Yeah. Wine, tequila, whiskey, and rum. Those are like my go-tos, right? But
Well, well, if you
but
ever,
I have to.
if I ever go up there, I'm gonna bring you some from here.
Oh, dang.
Nice.
Please do.
Some
Joaquin,
rum.
I think of
tell us
rum, right? Rum, like the pirates and stuff, you know, like go through there.
tell us
Here
about your
be their
beers.
rum. Oh,
You
the
got a
thing
beer,
is,
Joaquin.
well, the thing is, I get. Oh my God, we started this podcast called Cerveza Descalza
Yeah.
because it was funny, because we were drinking beer and we were barefoot. So it's like okay, it's one of those absurd things. It just sounds good, right? And we started this podcast and we always crack open a beer and we talk about stuff like this, right? Well, eventually we said, well, we gotta start a beer now. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody's asking for the beer. Like we
yeah.
don't have
That
one
was
yet.
the first thing I asked for. Like,
And now we're working with Cibao Brewing. Cibao is the northern region of the Dominican Republic. So Cibao Brewing is a microbrewer, a boutique brewer, and Felix, my partner, knows the guy, one of the owners, and we sat down and they liked us, we like their stuff, and we're in the process of making our own. So the batch is in its final stages where we're gonna taste it and see if we like it.
nice.
But
That's awesome.
but yeah. I have I'm not much of a drinker per volume per se. I don't drink much quantities
Right.
because I get nasty hangovers. So that's one thing. And since I got to do the podcast while I'm drinking, it if I have more than two, if I have more than two, it's gonna show. I mean, it's going
He
to
does.
show. And so it's like one, maybe two. That's it. And that you know what I mean. But I rather have quality than quantity, regardless. Whatever I'm drinking, I rather have
Yo, Joaquin,
quality.
I love your personality, dog. You're so funny. You're a funny guy, and it shows
That's
on the Cerveza Descalza. Like, dude, you got a great
Yeah.
sense of humor. You make people feel welcome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it,
thank you,
man.
Yeah.
You bring
thank
the
you, thank
party.
you.
You are the party on wheels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I try my best. It's if I get my mom to laugh, then that was a good one, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yo,
la doña Nelly.
you made Angel Benzal feel comfortable. I was like, wow, good job. Way to make him feel
Man,
comfortable.
listen, dude, my dudes, this is so epic. Like the people you meet and just the things that happen to you, it's surreal. You're like, this is happening while you're doing
Yeah.
it. Like this is actually happening.
I'm having that thought process right now with Zacarías right now. Like I followed him for a couple years, and I'm like, dang man, I'm on a live stream with him right now. You know?
I love that. Thank you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Love
Like
that.
Zacarías is such a cool guy and so giving. And I'm not used to that. So, you get sus like what's going on?
Yeah.
But you realize like people in this community are legit and like they do it from the bottom of their hearts. Like there's no come on, there's no money being made here, right? This is a reconquista.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Is this a reconquista from the heart to the heart? So it shows. It shows in the people you meet, the conversations you have, how everything just flows. Like
Mhm.
nothing that I've ever done. Like, dude, I've been in too many things where I try to make things happen, and there's always like a block. And there's always no, 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 and here it's like yes, yes,
Wow.
yes, yes, here, 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 go, go, go. Like
So
Yeah, yeah.
you got to tell us
there's so
about
many,
Héroes de
huh?
Cavite. Tell us about what happened. Like after you, so
So
you had Héroes de Cavite, Angel Pensado, like you had your interview with him. You interviewed him. I didn't even introduce you to him. He reached out to you, I think, right? Or how did that work?
like I think he
He does
saw
that. He'll show up on people's doorsteps. He sees they're doing a little bit of work for Hispanidad. He'll just show up, boom, like, hey, I'm gonna bless you, you know? Like he's like
Wow.
that.
right because he's on it, right? So I
Mhm.
think it was after we published the video with you.
Mm.
So this guy started texting me, Héroes de Cavite, and he gives me this long text and he introduces himself like, all right, this is cool, sure. And then he calls, and I'm like, who is this? I had I was so ignorant, so ignorant, and, oh yeah, sure. Hey, what's up? Because like I said, I'm not used to this, right? Everything I'm sus. And so yeah, because I know that you're doing this promotion with beer. Maybe we could do like an event where we have typical food and like little huts and different beers. And I'm like,
That's
yeah,
how
Like
sure,
he
I
what the
is.
love
heck,
that.
dude?
This guy works.
Yeah, yeah, but
His mind
he's
is
going
moving.
like I just met you.
Yes.
and so and he's already like, yeah, we're gonna do this and this and this and that. But I'm loving it because
Yeah.
it is really just like
It's structured.
anything that sounds medieval, I'm there. So
Mm.
what he's pitching is exactly right up my alley.
Mm.
Beer, food, music, outdoors. Everybody's just having a joy, a good time, and that's how it started. But then I was trying to fill out dates for our podcast, and I thought, well, this he seems like a cool guy, right? Let me just invite him to the podcast. But little did I know who he was. Afterwards is when I started to find out who he was and all the work that he did and all the videos and all the conferences and all the
The award.
authors and everything. Yeah, and I was like, what did I get myself into?
Uh,
I'm going to fuck this up. I'm going to ask the most basic questions like really bolsa and I was like,
Bolsa, that's a funny word. I never heard it used like that. That's
yeah.
hilarious.
yeah, like it's really like stupid question, like ignorant, right?
I never heard
And
that. That's hilarious,
yeah,
dog.
right. Well, you know something, you know it now. You can use it. And the thing is, and when I texted him before the interview, the answers were very short and dry. I'm like, shit, ay Dios mío, let's do this. And then when it started, dude was like, hey, I'm gonna come back right now. I'm doing some croquetas for my kids. All right, I'm gonna flip them over. What? Hey, I'm back. I'm like, he's so casual, so cool.
Mhm.
And from the beginning, I knew it was gonna flow like it effortlessly, and it did. And he was so cool, and I was giddy all the time. I was just smiling, like this is happening. This is amazing.
Yeah,
And
it was a
dude,
good interview. Like I watched the whole thing. It was so good. I was like captivated from like, like every 5 minutes it was like there's some good point being made. I was like, dang, I could clip this. Oh man, I could clip this, I was just looking at everything I could clip, and I just got captured watching the whole thing. So good.
I have
You did a good
I
job.
haven't posted more. I haven't posted more clips because I'm not that tech savvy. I don't want to be myself only in the clips. I would try to get things into the thing too. So I gotta sit down and do that because that this we've been having some trouble with let's say the labor because
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Every we
so
all do.
I had to
Is it
pitch
is it
in.
just me? Is it just me, or is it like hard to hear yourself talk when you're doing the editing stuff like that? Like, I don't know. For me, I'm just like, oh man, like
Oh.
I used to be like that, but now
I
I
hate
love
it.
hearing myself talk.
Good, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad. No, no, we need that. We need you to stay doing that because I need to get over this. I need to get over
I'm
it.
the same way when he sends me clips where we're talking or I'm talking and I'm like, sometimes I won't listen because I'm like, I don't want to hear myself, man. I'll probably do the same thing with this one. I'll send it to everybody, but I'm not gonna watch
Yeah,
it.
Right.
yeah.
What I'm pissed mostly is that the other two have better radio voice than I do. So that's the only thing that gets me. But I
No
have no
way,
problem
man.
Oh
hearing my
no
own
way,
voice.
bro. No
No,
way, bro.
dude,
Yeah.
dude, dude, no, no,
You're
no,
the
Had a
no, no,
truth,
radio
no.
man.
voice for days.
They got bass. I'm
They
like,
got bass.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyways, but they're cool.
I
Anyways,
I
so
didn't even see that. Yeah, I didn't recognize.
yeah, so it's a labor of love, but I also gotta get up early. So it's like I gotta manage my energies. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So every so often, okay, I got a spot here. What should I do? Sleep or edit? That's
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no.
basically, you know what I mean? So but luckily for me, I got Saint Zacarías on my side, and he pushed that shit. Like, okay, I can take a couple of days off. Because I don't know if you know, I'm a teacher, right? So I gotta get up at 5, and I'm at the bus at 6:40, and I'm a bus monitor, so I'm gotta be watching the kids so they don't kill themselves
Mm-hmm.
as we go to school, like a
It's
half an hour drive. So I'm
what in the
on
heck?
it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So back and forth.
That's
So
early. What time does
so
school start?
yeah, it's 7:40.
It starts at 7:40. Okay. That's early. Okay.
Yeah, right, right. 7:45. So yeah, so by when I get here in the afternoon, I'm taking a
Mhm.
siesta like I give examples of
Yeah.
Hispanicity with a siesta like it's nobody's business. You know what I mean?
You're the exemplar.
Yes, I
Yeah,
live
but
the siesta.
I know
Like,
I take siesta after work. Yeah. It
bro,
helps me.
I don't
And
know
then
how
I'll go
people
and
do
I'll
it.
work out after work too. I'll like hit the gym hella hard. Like yeah. But I take a siesta
I
after
don't
work.
I don't know how people do without it. I mean, if you're up early and hustling, how do you do not have a siesta, man?
Mm.
Really? I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know.
the Alzheimer is gonna kick in by your 60.
Mm.
TRT, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Cigars help with
TRT.
Alzheimer's.
Oh, so
He said gear. Love it. Yo,
baby.
those schools on gear, they be working all the time. Yeah, they doing them. I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah.
Oh
What do you
shoot.
think? What do you think? For example, this hustle culture, it's
Protestant hostel culture.
very hustle culture, like this very go 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 go, very American. Like there's no time to waste. Let's make money. Versus the more what I say more paced Catholic culture. Do you guys find that they're at odds with each other? You
Maybe
that
yes and
come.
no. I mean, I'm just
Mhm.
saying from my perspective, just some yes and no, like yes and no. Like
Right.
obviously, we don't like where the Catholic faith is against utilitarianism, right? Where you just utilize the people for like as if they're pawns, right? Like obviously we're working for a purpose, but at the same time, the Catholic faith is inherently hardworking too, right? Even for its own
Right.
salvation. So,
Hmm.
and as we know, Catholics have been, incredible workers and have created the incredible inventions and things and industries in the world, like like Germany wasn't a superpower until it reunited with the Catholic part of Germany again, later on. But during the Protestant Reformation and afterward, until it was unified again, it was like in the feudal system with Martin Luther and the princes and everyone else, fighting and killing their own campesinos and stuff. So just, yeah, there's this idea that sometimes some people carry an idea that Protestantism is, or utilitarianism that came with the Enlightenment era as well, that kind of proceeds from Protestantism as if it's some kind of superior way of living life, right? But no, like quite contrary, you see parallels where you have, like, as I said before, I mentioned the Catholic Renaissance, you have these Catholic hazañas, right? These feats by Catholics being carried out throughout the world. You have scientific engineering, scientific discoveries occurring, right? But it's just that we don't really talk about that side as much. It's not popular to talk about that. It's kind of like how we demonize so much the Spanish Inquisition that emitted about maybe 3,000 to 5,000 deaths over a span of 300 plus years, right? But we don't talk about the French Revolution in the same light. We see that as like a necessary evil to disrupt the feudal system of the monarchy that was before. But then you start to see that they killed, I want to say, like dozens of thousands of individuals within a year, like multiplying the amount that was carried out by the Spanish Inquisition, but it's never talked about in the same light at all, And in fact, the way they carried out these deaths and murders throughout these different communities who were often Catholics and priests and nuns, they were killed in horrible, atrocious ways. The Spanish Inquisition was just a tribunal. It was just a tribunal it was literally like more garantista, as we say, than the civil law, courts were of the same time period. So it's interesting how we view things differently. And I think this utilitarianism, it's like almost like taking the idea as if it's some brand new idea. But I mean, even the Romans did stuff like this, where they just utilize individuals like pawns as well, right? So it's not not so new of a thought, but and we see it in the Industrial Revolution too, where you have individuals had absolutely like very little rights. Almost no, they had no rights. Little kids working in factories and stuff. But we're told that the encomienda system was just the worst of the worst. It's like, well, at least they had some rights, It's not like they could just do anything. We had the 8-hour workday established under a monarchy, not from these bourgeois thinkers, So or union rights or anything like that. No, I mean the first reference of an 8-hour workday was by King Philip II.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's I think that's where the siesta comes from, when you have to work 4 hours in the morning and then 4 hours in the afternoon to avoid the heat of the sun, the hottest part of the day. And right. So, but yeah, I don't know, some food for thought.
Right.
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, I think smooth and steady wins the race every time. Every single time. I've never seen that not be true. I've seen success from massive efforts, right? But those successes, I would say that they're missing so many different little pieces to that, right? Where you are using everything and everyone you can in order to achieve those successes. Now, are those things necessary sometimes, like maybe in a time of war, right? Does everybody need to hurry up and make freaking bullets and bombs and tanks and planes? Maybe, but what I would say, just on a normal life, kind of like we're all living, right? We're all living normal lives. I say smooth and steady wins the race, and nothing could be missing from your puzzle. You have to have in our best ability a well balanced personhood and livelihood, because if you're a man and you're doing it without being a Catholic man, you're missing a big piece. Not to fluff them up, but Modesto has been a good example of that to me, right? Because before I came back to the Catholic Church, I was very much that dude. Like I was ruthless. I would bully my way into anything and everything. Bully the heck out of you. You know what I mean? Why? Because I seen the world be so ruthless to me. I'm a Mexican man, full of tattoos in a corporate world, full of capitalism and wasps, right? people that would try to leverage me. So I had to be nitty gritty, and it was a doggy dog world. But dude, that will burn you out. That even that view, even if it's true, even if the view is true, living in that reality will burn you out. So smooth and steady wins the race. A well balanced life of faith, hard work, dedication, weightlifting,
I was gonna say
Yes.
that could be a
Yes.
rotary. I think that's the answer for a lot of our lives.
That's a good point, man. That's so true.
Um, uh, that's very interesting what you said there. Have you um have you seen any change in the way the WASP community near you has treated you when you with this conversion, this outward, very in your, I'd say in your face Hispanicity Catholic movement that you're promoting? Have you seen any positive or negative reaction of them?
I would say it's less of their reaction and more
Yeah.
of my efforts because now now that I have a more proper understanding of who's who and what's what, I'm
Mm.
um I'm a little bit less I'm more unapologetic, and I'm also, how you say it, my interests aren't the same.
Oh
So
yeah.
so
Okay.
so whatever they bring to me or whatever I'm facing out in this world, um, there's this, for example, like because my interest isn't necessarily maximizing my capitalist opportunity in this scenario or situation, because that's the new way of me approaching things and viewing things. um People can't necessarily take advantage of me as much,
Yeah. Okay. I
and
see.
and
I see.
and there's some freedom there. There's a lot of freedom there. Also some temporary challenges, right? Where I find myself in situations where, I could capitalize, I could take advantage of the situation, advantage of these people, advantage of whatever it may be. But that's never really sat well with me. And I forgot who said it, but as soon as you said it, I was like, dang man, that really was the Holy Spirit really convicted me, like, like, you don't need to be that person. A well balanced life is very fruitful and beautiful.
Mm. Oh, wow. But I imagine because of your change of heart, um, it has attracted some people into your life. I'm sure some people have noticed it. Have because peace is attractive.
Hmm.
You know what I
Mm,
mean?
that's true.
And it is because it, like you said, you're unfazed by the bling, right?
Right.
Mhm.
There, and you're happy.
And you're gonna attract the
That
right people.
Like things like the stresses of work don't really affect you. So like one thing I've noticed is like some of my coworkers, some of my subordinates, they you know they seem to want to bring a lot of the every day to day um issues that they're having at work. They like unload it, to me. And I'm just like, hey guys, it's not that big of a deal. This is how we figure it out, right? And as I've gotten more as I've gotten more outward in my own hold on, let me see, I think my mic's messed up. In my own faith, I've noticed that a lot, that a lot of people, at work that typically I wouldn't really want to even deal with their issues. They're bringing that to me. I'm like, all right, here, how can I help you? But yeah, I'm definitely seeing some positives, but I'm also seeing, I've seen some negatives, but there's a lot more positive experiences that I'm having with some of the people that I work with, just day to day life.
And that's important, man. Yeah.
yeah,
I
your everyday life. Mm.
Yeah, so
Um,
like I work at a school, like you walk in, I work at a school, but I'm a secretary at a school. So I'm kind of on the classified, kind of on the lower totem pole, right? You have teachers who are certificated principals, all that, everyone else. I have a lot of bosses, but
nice.
I'm not really like tripping. Like I just do my work and I listen to everybody, and I just hear what I gotta do and I just do it. And then I hear other people who might be on the same kind of like pedigree as me, but they have a lot of issues. Sometimes there's things they don't quite understand, how someone said something to them or reprimanded them a certain way. And I always try to like say, it's not the end of the world, it's gonna be okay, be positive. Like I just try to keep everyone's head level. I work with a lot of people I don't agree with on so many things. I work at a school, right? And the California system is very woke. It's indoctrinated.
Oh my God, you're in
Like,
the
I mean,
mouth.
every classroom has a rainbow flag. Almost every office has a rainbow flag, and every year is a different rainbow flag. And so, like, I don't, but even working with people who I don't agree with on such a fundamental level, and they say things openly that offend my faith and offend me, but
Yeah.
I just shrug it off, and I'm like, it's made, I feel like I'm a pretty tough guy, and I just have a lot of patience, and I understand that they're ignorant, and it's just what it is, and so I'm just gonna maybe I'll make a video about it or something, if I feel a certain type of way, or if so fortunately, this has been a great way to utilize this energy, right, emotions and stuff, and produce content, right, to respond to certain answers to questions
Right.
that
Right.
Right.
obviously they're shared out there, right? These questions, these challenges. So I can address them here.
Right.
Yeah. It's a combination of having internal peace,
Yeah.
not letting things affect you because it's not even not letting, it's not gonna affect you because you belong to something so much bigger
Oh
and
yeah,
so
Right.
much
exactly.
grander. It's like
Yes.
it doesn't even
It's not
register.
worth it's not worth getting
It's
carried away with on little things. It's really not. And you start to realize how people quickly move over those things. So, some of these people we gotta work together at the end of the day. It's like I didn't get to choose it. So we just gotta make it happen. We got things to do. Let's keep our minds focused.
and the
Right.
thing is, you're supposed to be there because who else is gonna bring Hispanicity to the forefront? I mean, that's the I see ourselves as warriors, especially the teachers that are
I
not
see that as
woke.
all. Yeah.
There are the teachers that are not woke that are in
Mhm.
there with all the feminist hierarchy that we have to
Mhm.
deal with. Dude, I'm not tooting my own horn, but we are made of something different, bro. Because
Mhm.
it's constant. It's
Constant, bro.
that
It
drip
is.
of acid
Every
to
every
flow.
every every little conversation, it could come out at any time. You're in the hallway just talking about the weather, all of a sudden it'll start coming out how it's like men's fault or something. You never know when it can come out.
Wow.
So it's something like it's like that, and there's just I think people just are they're thinking that way. That's their talking points. That's their go-to. They're not creative enough to get outside of those little
Oh no,
boxes
no,
they've been
no, no,
told.
no.
You know,
Creativity is divine.
It's
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
creativity. Yeah, creativity.
yeah,
Hmm.
and it can be obviously used for evil as well. But you know what I was gonna say? I was gonna say is we're like sleeper cells, man. You know, we're just living a normal life until
Yeah,
we gotta take back Christendom. You know what I mean?
exactly.
God
Mhm.
said it's on. Yes.
Wait,
Right.
Pope, Pope Urban the second.
Pope
Right.
Raza. Pope.
They use both.
Pope Urban the
Those
second.
exactly, exactly. Man, there's so many venues I would love to go, but to wrap this up, I would like to know for you guys, when is the best time to pray? When you feel like, oh man, this is the moment to pray. When you set aside that moment for yourself during the day, when it feels the best.
For
I
me,
want to see I
oh
want to see
god.
if we have the same frame. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me the way my prayer life is like I start every morning. I go to the gym right before work. I start at 6 in the morning, so I'm in the gym, 4. Get my workout in. I shower, change over, and then mandatory, morning rosary. I pray the rosary every morning. I pray for, my family, of course. Pray for the church, all my friends. My brothers, my brother-in-laws, everybody. My mother-in-law. I got sick family. I pray. And then I pray
Oh,
the rosary, and then I have my personal petitions, right? That I
mm,
jump into after that. Um, and then, just from muscle memory, or I guess spiritual memory, like I pray before I eat. Anytime I eat, I have to say a prayer.
oh,
Um, and then for my family, you know, every time I put my kids down to sleep, we have mandatory prayer. And like I joke around, like I was joking with Adrian. I was like, I got them so brainwashed that if I put them down in their bed and I leave the room, they start screaming like, "You forgot to pray!" You know, they're yelling at me. You know, I'm just testing them, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right." I was like, "Hey, Modesto, lead us in prayer." But they, they've got their prayer routines down, so, I think that's instrumental as a husband and a father. You need to build that spiritual, that, you're the priest of your household. You need to, you need to lead them in that way. So praying in the morning, mandatory for for myself, my personal petitions before I eat, and then of course at night with my family.
Right. Oh,
For
awesome.
me,
Awesome. You got your day full.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah,
What
I
about
need to
you?
pray. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I need to pray the rosary, man. Like if I don't pray the rosary in the morning, like my whole day is just like,
Oh,
the typical stresses of the day that somebody else is bringing to me, it would stress me out. You know what I mean?
I
Working
understand
out,
totally.
working out definitely helps. The mental health and all that, but like the spiritual, aspect of embodying the corporal works of mercy, of helping other people that are struggling. Like mental. There's people that are really fit, but they can't keep up with certain things because they don't have that spiritual armor built up.
Mm.
So they go hand in hand, I think. But
Oof.
go ahead,
Go ahead,
Adrian.
Adrian.
I mean, cut you off.
Yeah, no, for me is there's a meme that Modesto has shared with me, and I've seen around the Catholic world where it says Lord forgive me for I'm evil and retarded, right? And
I love that
and
meme.
and I really feel like that's me, right? Because just my orderness is something that's recent. And and so when I pray, man,
Mm.
I'm in a crisis.
Right.
When I pray, my temptations are in front of my face.
Hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I only pray after I have succumbed.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
and it's very like it's
It's reactionary. Yeah.
it's reactionary for sure, and there I
Which is good. I mean, it's not a bad thing. You got it. You're doing something about it, right?
Yeah, for sure. And since coming to the faith, I mean, I've got good days too. You know what I mean? There's days that I do wake up and I pray that morning rosary and things like that. But that's not my status quo. You know what I mean? Like it seems like praying through the suffering, praying in the storm is what I
Mm.
keep finding myself in. But I'm just thankful to even be able to pray it and to
Yeah.
and to
Mm.
fight a little bit, you know what I mean? So that's kind of
Mm.
my it's like when they say you're hard-headed, and
Hmm.
it's like, and it takes a lot for you to kind of to make the right decision, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like I think God kind of operates that way with me, and it's there at that point where I'm praying, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. The same with me too. At times, I've had many moments where I'm yeah, I've had to pray after, I'm like, man, like I was too upset about something, I shouldn't have talked like that, I shouldn't have done that. And
Mm.
or if I have like an issue, like not even like something I did or necessarily like something bad, but I'm in a crisis where like financially something's like not quite right. And I'm like, I gotta pray about this because I'm freaking out too much,
Right.
I'm
Um,
exactly the same way, Zacarías.
and and unfortunately, I always tell myself too, like in a year from now, like this is not even gonna be a problem. Like, and I've had many years where I'm like, oh yeah, remember that one thing I said that a year ago? That I'm fine, from that. And so like another thing too is I pray. I like to pray before meals. I like to show my family to pray before meals. The sign of the cross is a big one for me. Like that's my favorite thing to do. Also praying while I work out. I'm dying on cardio, especially I'm
Ooh.
like doing burpees and stuff. Like and I'm praying, and I'll do the sign of the cross in the studio too. I'm like, oh my Lord. And then, yeah, and then within the day too, throughout the day, I'll pray randomly.
Yeah.
But I need to pray the rosary more, and I need to. There's some things I could do more, like everyone can, right? We can all do more, but I want to do. I used to pray the rosary every day, and I remember just random miracles would happen. It was just amazing, and I prayed with a lot
Oh,
of intention, and I
wow.
Yeah, I know, for real. I
Wow.
remember basically where I'm at, right? I was it was one particular night and it was 2014 or 15. And I remember something had happened politically what had upset everybody. And I was like saying, I was telling my back then my girlfriend who's my wife now, and I said, hey, she was telling me, I was telling her about the situation. I said we should go pray the rosary somewhere. And I remember she said, hey, there's a big old cross at the top of the hill, this mountain, and you can see the whole city. She said you should go up there and go pray. And I said, okay. And so pray the rosary. So we ended up going out pretty late and we forgot to charge our cell phones. And as we're going up there, our phones are dying and we don't really know how to get there. And so I'm kind of panicking, getting upset. I'm like, hey, are you sure this is the right way? I was giving her a hard time about it. And I'm like, so I told myself in my head, I'm like, chill out, dog. Like, you're here to go pray. You're here to go pray and you need to relax, because you're going to go pray to Jesus and you're going to pray. That's what you need to do.
Right.
And so I decided I choose to calm down and I relax and I'm just letting us go. We're just following the road. And I see eventually I see some things in the middle of the road. And I'm like, what the heck is this stuff in the road? And it's like they're orange, like bulbs. And they almost look like big lights in the middle of the road. And as I get closer, there's a bunch of people. It's like a family of people and they're crossing the street super fast and dashing in front of my car. And I stop my car for them, and I brake, and I stop so they can pass. And I see all their skirts, like women and little children, right underneath them, the smaller ones. And I see them dashing past my car. And as soon as they stop my car, they're gone. And so I'm just sitting there with my car stopped, and I'm thinking, am I crazy? And I put on my brights on, and there's nobody there. It's a big white street. There's nobody there. And so I'm confused. And then my wife, my girlfriend at the time says, hey, where did all those people go? And that's when I was like, wow, you saw that too? I'm like, oh my goodness, wow, okay.
Wow.
That was a trip. So yeah, that was something super paranormal on that hill up there.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me
Yikes.
forever. Yeah. So and then we went up there and we prayed the rosary up there that night.
That's amazing.
That was intense.
Yeah, I mean, I had experienced some paranormal stuff in my past, which kind of led into my conversion, but I had never seen with my eyes something like that before. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, it's a trip.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's really cool. I mean, my own thing is a kind of combination of all you guys's, but I like to quote a Megadeth song. It's called "Peace Hell, but Who's Buying?" He says, "What do you mean I don't believe in God? I talk to him every day."
Yeah.
Um, and that's basically I'm talking to him like like you said. Why did you say that, Joaquin? Come on, that's not a big deal. Chill. Have more compassion. Or thank you, gracias, Papa Dios, when I'm gonna eat something. It just comes out natural. It's really, really natural. In the morning when I wake up, I put on music, and dude, I'm connected, and I really need that. Music is very, very, very important for me. It makes me feel like my soul does like this. So
Mhm.
that's one way I connect with the Lord and with creation. And the best moment for me um, is in the afternoon because I feel like that's a moment where, okay, the day has passed. I can reflect. I can be grateful that it's over. I can be grateful for what I did, and I can also kind of reflect and what can I do better. And it's also a good like winding down kind of moment. You see, for myself, and it makes everything fall into its place. It makes everything make sense, if you know what I mean. And when I go to sleep, I always say, "Te amo, Papa Dios." It comes out. "Te amo, Papa Dios. Te amo." So it's I don't know. It's just it comes out, blurs out.
It's
So
sincere.
right, right. It's like I yo no tengo quejas. My life is great. Te amo, Papa Dios. You know what I mean? So and it's yeah, it's maybe not very orthodox, but I mean it's
No,
real.
no.
I
Yeah,
feel
it's
it,
real.
bro.
For sure that. For sure that. And before we get off, I would love to come back on and kind of I know today was kind of a little bit more it was more communal kind of sharing some beers and just shooting the stuff together and getting to know each other. But I would love to come back on and talk about Freemasonry. I know you got some connections on that. You and
yes.
Zacarías, because I want to understand it more. I've come to my own conclusions and assumptions and done my little bit of research, but I want to understand it more because I think that in understanding it more, I'll be able to understand a lot of things more. So yeah, man, I just wanted to make sure I say that before we get off.
I'll definitely have my friend Carlos Munoz to come here, and we have a very educated person talk about that straight from a horse's mouth in terms of sources, not clips, not reels, not YouTube. No. The man studied the thing because he's an anthropologist, and that has been a big part of this whole experiment we call humanity in
Yeah.
the Western Hemisphere for the last 500 years or so. So yeah, we'll have him on, and we can drink beer as well. So it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. Right. So guys, listen, I have had a blast. Thank you for agreeing to do this and not knowing what you were getting yourselves into. Hopefully you'll still be employable tomorrow. And and I just love this. We should do this more often.
Yeah, no, I'm down for sure.
Right. So, guys, I thank you for joining us at this edition of the Order of Letter Dragons. Stay epic, stay inspired, and definitely stay Hispanic. Okay, bye-bye.